Tyres have remained inflated though, and actually they may need a little bit of tank tape just to put things back into position, but otherwise they build those BMWs pretty strong.
They did. They dodged a big bullet there. You know, it bounced right in the tire wall, and just the tire wall absorbed everything.
Yeah, well, that's what it's designed to do, I suppose, and that looked like a classic bus stop moment, really, where you lose the back end. It's very tricky to get the spin back again, and you're along for the ride to a certain extent. But the car is back in the pit road now, and I'm sure we'll return to the race very quickly.
Jeremy, we talk about the 10 car didn't take tires. I know earlier in the race in Ringer's first stint, they didn't take tires also. We talked about as far as drive time and GTD times, you know, front loading their time. Are they front loading, running on double stint tires, so they back end it for the end of the race to have fresh tires if we get a late caution?
Well, they're certainly doing it in cooler conditions, in nighttime conditions, so they're going to take less out of the tires. And everybody knew it was going to be a problem to double stint these tires. And they've only got 26 sets for the whole race, so they know they're going to do at least 4 or 5 or 6 double stints. So if you can get them out of the way early and not lose too much ground, yeah, that's definitely going to play to your favor later in the race.
Philippe Albuquerque starting to make some more movement to the front now. 0.3 of a second quicker than Castroneves on the previous lap.
It's off to Phil Hansen, by the way, the other youngster, along with Lando Norris at wheeler car number 23. He's hanging right with Scott Sharp in the number 2 Nissan, which is running in 6th position. Hansen in 7th in car number 23. The last car on a lead lap is about 3 seconds behind Sharp, and we know how fast that car is because it's shown it all the way through. I don't know whether he's at what tire what tires he happens to be on right now, but certainly an excellent effort by Phil Hansen, taken over from the brilliant work by Lando Norris a little while ago.
10 o'clock, chaps. Just a couple of hours to go then before we hit Sunday morning, and the hours are being pounded through here. Just a question of teams trying to get into a rhythm. We're almost up to 250 laps completed as well.
Elio Castroneves has clearly figured something out, because over the last 4 or 5 laps he's got down into the 138s. So maybe he's learned something from where after Philippe Albuquerque got past it, because he's upped his pace by probably about a half a second or lap, a lap or so, and he's actually eked out a little bit now over the Cadillac on that last lap. I think that was a result of traffic primarily, but still he's turned into much better laps than he was just before the pit stop, certainly.
Yeah, it's up to 2.1 seconds now, and on the previous lap it was 4/10. So Philippe Albuquerque just tripping over a bit of traffic here and there. Sometimes you get those sort of laps. You've got to be patient, work your way through as safely as possible.
Battle for third heating up there with Van der Zende now really under pressure from Eric Curran. The 2 cars heading out of turn 1. Yeah, I think it is. Head down towards the...
Yeah, they're down to
International Horseshoe, isn't it? Yeah.
Meanwhile, in GTD, that number 29 Monteplas by Lant Motorsport Audi continues on with unabated speed. 232 laps completed now for Sheldon van der Linde, with Ben Keating in 2nd position. Andy Lally up to 3rd now in the 44 Audi from Magnus Racing, and Bryce Miller in the 48 Lamborghini Huracan.
Yeah, that's an interesting story, that car. They had some looked through all the data after their qualifying run and weren't happy with things, and they'd had some problems with the electronics on that car through the week as well, and they thought maybe it was running lean on the right-hand bank of cylinders. So rather than taking any chances, they changed the whole engine. That was yesterday after the final practice session, and because there's no warm-up this morning, no opportunity to do a hardship lap, they needed to make sure that everything was okay on that car. So what they did, they went down to New Smyrna Speedway, which is about, I don't know, 5 or 10 miles from here. Yeah. I went there. I remember going back there in 1980, actually. And they you put the engine in the car, took it down there, ran it around for an hour or so, make sure everything's okay. And Brian Sellers was turning laps at Newton Miller Speedway. And it's interesting, Paul Miller was telling me that the track rental cost was a mere $200, which is pretty impressive. Except they said you better get here early, otherwise we're going to have to charge you $800 if we have to turn the light on. But a great story, and that's how hard these teams work. And of course, at that stage, the garage here was closed, so they weren't able to get back here into the racetrack until this morning.
That was a great idea to take that and go run it there. New Smyrna's not that far away and cheap to rent, so I have to remember that in the future.
Coming up with plans on the hoof, sometimes that is necessary to make sure your race car is prepared as best as possible ahead of this big race. Now the 99, we reported on that going behind the wall not too long ago. 99 Gainscope prototype car. Andrew Marriott back on pit lane, or you're probably actually in the paddock investigating the 99.
Yes, indeed, that is exactly the case, but the front nose has just gone on the car. The left front suspension has been rebuilt very quickly by the boys from JDC Miller Motorsport. Great to see the car put my teeth back in, carrying the colours of the Gainsco Insurance Company, with such great supporters of this series in the past, and Bob Stallings, of course, with his own team. But that car will now be back on track in just about 20 seconds. It goes down the paddock and will turn right onto the pit lane.
Just checking, Andrew, it was the front nose, was it?
No,
sorry,
it was the left front suspension was the problem, but they were just putting the nose on, if you understand what I'm
I just have to wind you up. Sorry about that.
Making sure
it
was the front nose and not the back nose they were addressing.
I've got to keep myself awake here.
That's normally Joe Bradley's line, and he always tells us that it's the front nose, just so that we're sure.
Yes, exactly.
It's a technical term. Anyway, the 99's back on pit road now, and with the team, so they can check on everything for that car. But obviously there's a lot of more crew in the garage, and the nose is off again. So they're just checking, I think.
They're replacing it.
They are replacing the nose, So maybe an adjustment to the aero once more, perhaps more or less dive planes. We can't tell from this distance, but I mean, do we tend to find that cars have a kind of night mode and a daytime mode, depending, because the air I know is very different depending on what time of day it is?
Historically here, absolutely yes, because when the air thins out at night time, you want to crank on maybe a little bit more downforce or whatever it might be, and if the bounce of the car isn't quite right, then you can change the nose to alter the aerodynamic balance of the car as well. I'll tell you what, Elio Castroneves, boy, is he in the groove right now. He is lapping consistently when he has a clear track in the 1:38s, and he's extended his lead over Philip Albuquerque now to 4.5 seconds. And given the ease with which Albuquerque passed Castroneves twice within the space of about 20 minutes, that is very interesting.
Then started the stint. Albuquerque went by him pretty easily. And Castroneves let him have it at the kink, and then I think he used some traffic to pick him, and now he's just driving away from him.
But I'd be interested to see how the Acura gets on as it gets lighter, as the tyres wear a little more as well, because Cadillac seems to maintain its performance across the stint. The problem is, the danger is, Philippe's not going to be there close enough to pounce before the end of this pit stop.
I mean, he's not losing much ground. In fact, he gained some back on that last lap, so it's under 4 seconds now. And 4 seconds, of course, is nothing on a racetrack like this. But certainly interesting that Castroneves has picked up his pace and is able to run consistently when he has clear track in front of him. Excuse me.
Car that is certainly troubling the top 5 back in pit road. This is the 10 car, Shay.
It is, with another right rear puncture, as I need to move out of the way of the 24 BMW because that is coming in as well. Renger van der Zande goes back out. I came here to ask, was that early? Because it doesn't seem like that long ago that Jordan Taylor got out of the 10 and Renger van der Zande got in. But there was almost nothing left of the right rear tire. Driver change nearly complete for the 24. Jesse Krohn out, John Edwards in. 4 new tires and a whole lot of fuel for this 24 BMW, the remaining BMW in the top 8 of GTLM.
So once again, Shay, that team must have been lucky because his middle sector was just fine. So the tire must have gone on that in the turn 3-4 bank, which is exactly what happened to that car last time in Hatton. Whereas with the Ligiers, that happened, the problems early on, the Nissans, I should say, their problems were way early in the lap when they had to go limp around the whole lap.
Yep.
So the Konica Minolta team has been pretty fortunate there to have their tyre problems towards the end of the lap rather than earlier on. They lost a lot less time than they would otherwise have done. But certainly that's going to be a concern for that number 10 team.
Even more breathing space now for Elio Castroneves, so he's getting his reward for these intense laps. Another 1:39 from Elio, and the gap's now 7 seconds because Philippe Albuquerque obviously catching the traffic in the more trickier places and can't side his way through. Eric Curran is gaining a little time too, but really Curran and Juan Pablo Montoya look like they're lapping in a similar speed, 31 and 6. 6 being the other of the Acuras. Team Penske cars look pretty strong at the moment.
Yeah, certainly do. 7 seconds now, that gap.
I know.
Between first and second.
Meanwhile, who's this on pit
It's number
road?
22 car, that's Pipo Derani. That was the car that had that big failure. He had to limp almost the entire way around the racetrack. Lost 3 laps doing that. That car's been charging along. It's still 3 laps off the pace, but he's been making up at least a little bit of ground.
Tune to RS2 IMSA Radio, part of the Radio Show Limited network of channels. We're live trackside from the Daytona International Speedway. Owen Trinkler, Jeremy Shaw and Johnny Palmer in the main commentary box with Andrew Marriott and Shea Adam looking after things down in that Continental Tire pit lane. And Elio Castroneves sets the best final sector for that car on that lap at the 2.54 and a tremendous speed through the speed trap as well, nearly 195 miles per hour.
Yeah, and Shea's down on pit road. I'd like for her to go down to Castroneves' pit and to see. I'm almost certain that they've removed those orange dive planes that we've seen the Acura have on the nose. Those are not showing up on the pictures that we're receiving here. I don't see them on there. I've got a feeling they made a change when they made that nose change to a nose that doesn't have that on there, because he has picked up some top speed. I've been kind of watching that over the last 45 minutes to see if that's been consistently faster than the Cadillac it has.
Shay, deal with this first of all, because the GTD leader is in, car 29.
I got you, Johnny. The Land Motorsport Audi will not be changing drivers. Sheldon Vanderlinde is staying behind the wheel. They've changed 4 Continental tires. They are stickers, and they are giving him a whole lot of fuel. But other than this, it has been a virtually flawless pit stop. The Land Audi stayed out 1 lap longer than the car it is chasing on the track, or at least was, which is second in class, the 33.
And our other member of the Continental Tire pit lane crew is Andrew Marriott, and you are with Team Penske, possibly with an update on the Acuras.
Well, yes, indeed. In fact, on the 7 car, they've just lifted a new nose section onto the actual pit wall, where they've got it balanced for the moment. I get the feeling when the car comes in, they're going to make a nose change, and I'm thinking it's all about aerodynamics rather than a problem with the lights or any of the other reasons you change your nose for.
So, Andrew, if you have chance to just pop your head into Penske, I mean, how much they'll tell you at this stage, who knows, but it's worth asking the question whether they've just trimmed that car out a little bit and it has fewer dive planes on the nose, because it's showing tremendous speed now with that Elio Castroneves at the wheel. 7.2 seconds is the gap.
Yeah, and the other car that's on the move again is Tristan Vautier in car number 90. We said that earlier on, I don't know, maybe a better part of an hour ago, when that car was closing in on number 37 car. And it got that gap down from 20 seconds down to, well, less than half of that before the last round of pit stop. And then it kind of lost some ground again during the pit stops. But now Tristan Vautier has reduced the margin from about 14 seconds a dozen laps ago down to about 4 seconds, or 5 as it was as he came across the line this time. Daniel Juncadella, there's a car ahead of him, car number 37, then the number 90, and both of those 2 cars, as indeed is the number 10 Konica Minolta Cadillac, 1 lap down to the leaders. That unscheduled tyre stop again for number 10 car has put it back off the lead lap once again.
I thought I just caught sight of some side-by-side, side-to-side contact for the 29 Audi as it came out of the second of the horseshoes. 29 car race leading, remember. Sheldon Vanderlinde still at the wheel. Ben Keating at a safe distance, but still the 29 car having to do a bit of lappery here and there. Also Sheldon needing to keep an eye on those rear view mirrors all the time because of the faster traffic coming through. It's on the infield mainly where the GTLMs are doing the lapping of the GTDs, because the downforce, the turn-in speed, the braking is far better in a GTLM car, but the GTD's carrying superb straight line speed this season. And of course the prototypes, the GTDs, are constantly having to look out for as well. It's a busy lap for those guys in the GT3 class. There's the 29 car turning right then through the first of the horseshoes, and it has prototype traffic both in front and behind. Stop for the 3 Chevrolet Corvette. And this is Jan Magnussen then bringing in the 4th placed GTLM car. Shea Adam is there.
It will be Antonio Garcia taking it back out as our championship defender in GTLM from the 2017 season. Hands over to championship defender from the 2017 season. 4 new Michelin tires went on to the 3. The fuel is still going in as the crew took the opportunity to clean the car off a little bit, cleaning the rear view camera as well as the Corvette logo on the back.
And it's back on the move. Meanwhile, there's drama at the bus stop, this time for the 23 car, and this is not the first puncture we've seen for the United Autosports Ligier. Now, the problem is, we've got exactly the same scenario here, Owen, as we had with the ESM car and with the 23.
Way too fast.
Who is at the wheel of the 23?
Philip Hansen.
Okay. Young man Philip Hansen, who's raced in the European Le Mans Series and also in things like GT3, Audi R8s, but hurriedly trying to get the car back again. But it's this fine balance between getting the car back as quickly as you can so that the team can address the problem, but not making more work for your crew by destroying the car.
Yeah, he just slowed down when we kind of brought that up.
Maybe he's listening to us.
We got a call from the pit lane.
Yeah,
but he's close. He's down in NASCAR 4 is where he is right now, so that was coming out of the bus stop.
Number 5 car is pitted from 2nd place on lap 257. I'd expect the race leader, Helio Castroneves, in 2 laps' time.
But the bodywork is just chattering away there beneath the rear right corner, rear right end of that rear wing. And that's the problem, is it's not only just the bodywork and the wheel arch around the tyre, but it can start to eat away at something as high up as that rear wing too, and take the very easily take the end plate away with it. So where did the tyre problem hit? It had already gone down prior to the brake zone for the bus stop chicane. So the car is on its way to the team. Andrew Marriott, you're down with United Autosports now.
Yes, I am, and the pit board is waving up and down as the car comes towards us, and it's not here yet, so we're waiting for Hansen, but the team is poised and ready. But this is obviously a bit of a setback for this car, which has just been going so well. But it's not here yet, obviously it's coming very slowly, and now I think I've got it in my sight. Lights flashing past me on the banking here just before it comes.
Yeah,
One thing that's absolutely so great about this race is when I went to see the Gainsco car being repaired, all the fans can get in there very close to the garage and see all the mechanics working hard, and I think that really is a great bonus for them. So now this is a 23 now, I think, coming towards me, and yeah, here it comes.
They're going to need an engine cover as well, Andy.
Yeah, they are. I'm just going to see as it comes in. There it is. No, I'm not sure. Yeah, it will need a new engine cover, that's for sure. And Hansen will climb out of the car. And I've also got another car coming right in next to me, so I'm going to have to tuck myself in the wall. So let them get the pit stop, and I'm moving out of the way here because I'm just in an awkward place. It's got cars coming in all over the show. And I got the 71 Mercedes comes past me. So give me a moment and I'll get into the United car.
Hey, thank you for that. Phil Hansen's got the car home, but it's now shed quite a lot of the bodywork over that rear right wheel, and the team just assessing just how much damage has been done. I mean, thankfully that whole piece comes off in one chunk. depends whether it can be clipped back into place. There's also that section just in front of the rear wheel that's gone as well. To Shea Adam at the other end of the pit road with drama for the 7.
Completely missed his pit box, rolled way too far forward, actually overshot the pit board that was laid out in front, so the crew had to pull the car back before they could begin fueling. Now they have removed the nose, and you guys were spot on. The orange dive planes that Owen first noticed are not on the nose that they are removing, but they are on the nose that the team is putting back on. Perhaps it was for a different temperature setting that they were expecting, maybe the air to be a little bit thicker, because it is not cold down here, guys. Normally night at Daytona is a lot more, well, brutal. Right now it's very mild. It was fuel and the new nose. They did not do tires. And there goes Ilio. We'll have to ask him when he gets out of the car if he feels the difference between the two noses, and I'm sure he does.
You can come up here again, Owen, because you know what you know what to look for and what you're talking about.
My eyes are still good right now.
Better than mine, certainly. But also, I mean, not only down to the fact that you'd spotted there weren't any orange dive flows on there, but clearly the pace from Elio Castroneves. It'd be interesting to see what happens now with that slight adjustment. Andrew Marriott, what have you got for us?
I've got Phil Hanson for you, Phil. Did you get any warning at all of the tyre going?
No, but the Ligier works the tyre a lot harder than the other manufacturers, so it was a struggle to double stint, but we took the gamble and we overworked the rear tyres and had a puncture.
You were very careful bringing the car back in. You didn't cause much damage at all to the rear, and you really have to control yourself to do that.
Yeah, actually it did cause quite a bit of damage to the bodywork, so unfortunately even at 30k, the tyre carcass still got caught in the bodywork and ripped it apart.
Well, what a great race you're having, and fantastic for United Motorsports in this 23. You must be so proud to be part of this effort.
Yeah, it was going well up to then.
Thanks, Phil. He deserves a rest now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Andrew, I beg to differ there. He was going way too fast until he was told to slow down in turn 1. He did a lot of damage. He might have got away with it. I certainly hope so, because now Fernando Alonso, I think, is at the wheel at car number 23. Great shame that she'd have that problem right towards the end of his stint. But the car was on the lead lap, but now will have fallen off the lead lap. And now we'll see what Alonso could do. And he was going a heck of a lot faster than some of the other cars that had those punctures.
Let's give Andrew a right to reply, and then we'll draw a close to it. Go on, Andy.
Yeah, I did have a good look at the back of the car. Obviously, they did have to replace the bodywork. I think you have a right rear or left rear go like that, you're almost certainly going to go that far around. You're almost certainly going to get some damage. But there was no damage to suspension. That was the big thing, because obviously they come too quickly. They can have that flailing tyre. And I actually have to tell you, when the car came in, they started to take all the debris out. A great actually, I was showing you how I've got a camera. I've got it in my hand here. A load of the metal parts of the I forgot the name of the metal.
Gauze.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right at my feet now, and they came away. So it's lucky they didn't wrap round part of the suspension or something like that. So I think they just got a bit of a lucky break there.
Yeah, stripped right down to the canvas, obviously, and just starts to rotate.
Around,
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem for that car now is, yes, they've replaced the engine cover, but the section of bodywork that sits just in front of that rear right wheel just ain't there anymore. There's a shark bite out of the car, and without a doubt, Alonso's going to feel the difference in the setup and the behaviour of that car. Again, another element that you don't necessarily get in Formula One, driving an injured car effectively and trying to make it quick for the rest of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a super stint there by Phil Hanson there, I must say, and he's for a youngster, the two youngsters in that car sharing with Alonso, both of them just 18 years of age. Pretty remarkable job both of them have done. Lando Norris was absolutely stellar, and Phil Hanson was very impressive as well. So it's been a really good run for United Autosports in this race. They know they didn't have the fastest cars. They were very much on the back foot.
Well,
they got here
trying a few days, I get the feeling, from Richard D.
Yeah, that's right. I had a chat with them this morning as well. When they came here, they're completely different rules over here, different bits and pieces they need to get, particularly all the refueling equipment they had wasn't eligible for over here. It's a completely different fueling system or refueling systems than are allowed in Europe. And even the Ligier chassis themselves, or the aerodynamics, are new for this year with the Evo body kits that you're allowed. They had never run those before they got here, so it's a big, an awful lot of learning to do. Plus, the garage. Another different rule to Europe is the garage is closed here at whatever time it is in the evening, generally about 7 o'clock in the evening, so really early compared to what the European teams are used to run. But and that's the same for everybody, whether you're a European team just here for the weekend or the regular teams. The regular teams, of course, all know that. But the problem for the overseas team is they've got to prepare their car differently in different ways and different rules, and like I say, they can't work on them as long as they would have ideally have liked. So it's very much a trying time for United Autosport. Having said that, they're really enjoying the challenge. They've been treated very well by the teams and by the officials here. But the rules will not be bent for anybody.
Of course not. Of course not. And I suppose the way that you work out whether you can work in that kind of environment is to try it out and to test yourself yet further. And I'm sure they will learn an awful lot from this, their first Rolex 24. Certainly got some good names in that little black book of theirs to call upon.
Well, they're going to be tested here. I mean, when we start to get cautions on trying to work the strategy to get the laps back that they've lost here. Obviously, we haven't had a caution in a long time. We've been green for a while, but as we start to get some cautions, they'll start to learn that strategy, Jeremy, to try to see if they can make some laps back. And Alonso's here battling with the 10 car going down to the bus stop.
Yeah, we've only had that one caution, haven't we? And that was at 5 o'clock this afternoon. What's the time now? It's 10:20. So it's like 7 hours or more without a caution. Just that one caution. That's the only one we've had, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just one caution so far.
Incredible stuff. And as I say, the all-time distance record set in 1982, certainly in there with a chance of reaching that or getting close to it at least.
And after these pit stops, with that new nose on the Acura, Elio Castroneva's not running anything like the pace that he was before. He's okay. Albuquerque came out of the pits a couple of laps sooner, so he was able to get his tires up to temperature. But he's extended his gap now to 12 seconds over the Acura with 262 laps in the books.
Shea just reporting that Elio's on old tyres.
Oh, that's a good point too. He didn't change tyres.
Yeah, they didn't change tyre, yeah.
That's a double
stinting the tyres on the 7 car. Thanks, Shea, for that.
Yeah, well done.
12.2 seconds is the gap between Philippe Albuquerque and now the Castroneves Acura. We've got Renger van der Zande in that 10 car then, battling away with the 31 a lap ago, and Juan Pablo Montoya in the number 6 car is in 4th position. Let's go down to our Continental Tire pit lane once more and hear from Andrew Marriott.
Yeah, with Colin Brown, their car running in 13th place. Owner John Bennett in the moment doing some very respectable lap times, Colin.
Yeah, he's been doing a great job. We've been working him hard here early on, but he's been doing a nice job in our Core Auto Sport car and just clicking off the laps, trying to stay out of trouble, stay in the mix. A lot of racing to go. I would have thought we'd seen more yellows, but it's been really, really dry with yellows.
You must be pleased to be back in a prototype, I guess.
Yeah, loving it. It's a blast to be back in a prototype. Orica built the PC cars that we raced and won championships in, and so nice to be back in a prototype car. Specifically the Orica feels a lot like the PC car. It's lovely.
Now, Colin, you've done something around here in a sports car that nobody else has done, because you've been around the oval and some phenomenal lap speed. I think was it 223 or something like that. Just tell us about that. A few years ago.
That was a blast. Yeah, that was a program that Ford and Continental Tires and the France family wanted to put on to show how fast those DP cars at the time were. Mike Shank ran the program. It was incredible. I thought it was going to be real easy to go that fast. And the old speed record was Bill Elliott back in the NASCAR days, and so we came here with the DP car and cut the mirrors off of it, trimmed it way out, tried to get it to go that fast, and it was a lot harder than we thought it was. I figured we'd be at Disney World by noon, but it was a lot of fun. We finally did it. We broke it by a few miles an hour, and I was happy, ready to pack my helmet up and head home. And they said, "Oh no, we're going to break this by 10 more miles an hour." So turned the boost up on the Ford motor and sent it, and it was fun. It was crazy.
And what was the ultimate lap speed?
I think the average was 225 to 26, something like that. But top speed, right at 240. It was really fast.
Well, you're hanging right in there, I say, Colin, in 13th place at the moment. I'm sure you'll be going forward. Thanks very much.
Yep, anytime. Thanks.
Colin Brown there with Andrew Marriott in our Continental Tire pit lane, and here in the main commentary box, Johnny Palmer, Owen Trinkler and Jeremy Shaw looking over this 56th running of the Rolex 24. We're homing in now on just 16 hours to go, 10:30 at night, and in GTD, Sheldon van der Linde continues to lead the way in the 29 Monteplas by Lant Motorsport Audi. That team victorious in last year's Nürburgring 24 in the most dramatic of race ends I think I can ever remember, where the Nürburgring circuit was wet for about 2 miles but bone dry through the rest of it, and they judged their tyre choice perfectly in that event. 29 crew have been kind of the guys to beat as far as the Audi R8 runners are concerned.
Well, they won the last time out that we ended our championship last year at Petit Le Mans. I mean, those guys were unstoppable there. They rode Atlanta, and they've continued that success headed into the Rolex 24 here.
Yeah. Got a really neat driving combination going there as well. Obviously has to weave together non-pros and pros. It's the nature of GTD. And then the strategy is when and where you use each of those drivers, bearing in mind the guy that qualifies it has to start the race. We'll wait to see the rest of the strategy for the 29 car. Meanwhile, moving to GTLM, certainly a good few stints recently for Patrick Pilet, the 911 Porsche. He's now with Shea Adam.
Patrick, how happy were you when it started to rain during your stint and they left you out on slicks?
Not so happy. Well, yeah, I like rain, but to be honest, it was a bit difficult in this condition. But we bet on the drying. I mean, if we stop for rain, for sure was safer. But we know that a few minutes later we will have to switch. So I just said to the team, okay, let's try to survive like this. I can stay flat nearly in the straight line, so for me it was okay. But anyway, it was quite funny when it started getting dry again. But yeah, it's a long race still to go.
With rain coming at the end of the race, do you feel that you guys got any good information for what might happen for you guys to get a watch?
I don't know. For the moment, to be honest, I was with the Corvette and the Ford, and we struggle quite a lot in the straight. They are a lot quicker, and especially they reach the top speed quicker than us. But the car balance is quite good, and we never know what can happen with the weather. And for sure, if it rains, maybe it's our chance. So keep fighting, keep going, and we will see where we are at the end.
Well, there's just something right about a driver change where you get out and Nick Tandy gets in. I'm glad the two of you are back together, and good luck for the rest of the day.
Thank you.
And let's hear a little from Zach Brown now at United Autosports with Andrew Marriott.
Yeah, I dive in here. Zach, what a phenomenal effort you put together here. He just took a bit of a hit with the flat tyre. But I think everybody's staggered by the performance of the car, because United always come good in a race.
Yeah, we've had a good race pace. Qualifying was a bit difficult for us, but yeah, this tire blowout here, which is about the third or fourth we've had over the kind of 6-7 days we've been here. So I don't know what's going on there, but it's not good.
Zach, you've actually, of course, raced around here yourself in some of your fine heritage cars.
Oh yeah, I love this track. It's was last raced here in 2011 with Blundell, Brundle, and Batterson. And yeah, take some of my historic cars around here. It's an iconic track.
And I've seen you around here in a Porsche 935 as well, I think, to the historic event.
935 and 962, both a lot of fun.
Absolutely fabulous. Do you know, I think maybe you like sports car racing better than Formula One.
Nah, I like them all.
Very good answer. Zach Brown, what a fantastic job he's done together with Richard Dean here, his old mate at United.
Certainly is an incredible effort, and I mean, I've watched them in all sorts of different categories, including touring cars in the UK. They've done GT3 certainly, and a bit of GT4 I think along the way, and then into things like the Blancpain Endurance Series across Europe, and now prototypes at European Le Mans Series level, Le Mans itself, and now here in the United States. American flagged, mainly because of Zach Brown, but they're an Anglo-American squad based in the northeast of, certainly the north of the UK, in Garforth, close to Leeds. and great to have them here, learning racing the American way. 17.8 seconds is the gap now. Philippe Albuquerque versus Helio Castroneves. This is a titanic fight, isn't it, between the two?
It was, but on these used Continental tyres, Castroneves is slipping back by more than a second a lap. So there's no fight on right at the moment. He had the upper hand on the previous stint, but now with Albuquerque on fresh tyres, Castroneves on older tyres, no fight at all. So he's now just got to sort of manage it and keep it consistent and try not to lose too much time. I'm not quite sure how the number 2 car managed to go off the lead lap. It's Scott Sharp is at the wheel of that car still. It's in 6th place, but we've now, as a result of that puncture, particularly for number 23 car, we've just got 5 cars on the lead lap. And by the way, that flat tyre for number 23 car has put that car 3 laps now behind the leaders.
Let's get a word with our resident Canadian stroke Italian race driver, Devlin Di Francesco, now with Andrew Marriott.
Yeah, he certainly is, Devlin. Well, the different experience for you, because really you're a single-seater driver. You're doing a great job, of course, over in Europe. You've got a big program coming up this year in European Formula 3. It's going to be tough, but I think you're enjoying the sports car world as well.
No, it's really mega. I really enjoyed my first stint. Average lap time was not too bad, you know. Just doing laps consistently. Because we got to make it through. We got to make it to the morning. Robert's out at the minute, doing a decent job. I'll be in next at about midnight to about 2 a.m. So it's about just getting the laps in, good lap times consistently, and see where we end up.
Well, that's always a magic time in a race, of course, just after midnight. I think you're going to enjoy that.
No, I'm looking forward to it. When it's dark, it's quite cool with all the lights and everything. A bit tricky to see through the bus stop and everything, but no, really cool, really enjoying it.
You happy with the balance of the car at the moment?
Balance is quite okay. First stint is a bit of a struggle. Balance generally comes to us second stint. We'll maybe make a balance change when I get in. Who knows? Let's see.
Might we see you in any other sports car races this season?
Maybe, who knows?
Who knows? Thanks, Devlin.
Devlin Di Francesco from the 85 crew, the JTC Miller Motorsport Orica LMP2. Part of that driver combination, Austin Cindric, a fellow competitor in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge, Owen Trinkler. I mean, Austin did a really good job in the Mustang yesterday. Unfortunately, the car broke down out of the International Horseshoe. What can you actually take from a GT4 car into a prototype? I mean, you know the way the track goes, I suppose, but are they relatable at all?
Probably track conditions is what you can take, but I mean, that's about it. I mean, that's a GT4. I mean, it's still a sedan GT car. The prototype is so stiffly sprung. I mean, it relies on the aero so much more than the GT4 does. The GT4's got mechanical and aero, but it's really more track conditions. I mean, the more time you spend behind the wheel, that doesn't matter really what it is. As long as it's a race car, that's good for you no matter what.
Yeah, that's exactly the case for Austin Cindric. He's going to be smiling whatever he's driving. Yeah. He'll go anywhere, do anything. What was he telling us yesterday? He's going to do some rallycross, some ice racing, is it, or rallycross in Europe? I think was coming up next.
You
for
mentioned something about Sweden, did you?
Yeah,
for Austin.
Wasn't that what it was?
Yes, I think it probably was. Yeah, and just the fact that he seems to be open to all types of motorsport on all sorts of surfaces as well.
Well, and that helps you adapt. I mean, I'm a fan for any young listeners we have out there that's going down this career path and wondering what to do. Go drive everything. And when I was growing up, my dad had me running dirt track one weekend. We'd run an asphalt track the next weekend. Then we'd go run a street race. And this is all in go-karts. And so if you get a variety, then the conditions like we dealt with earlier, that rain shower, that allows you adapt quickly when you run all those types of surfaces.
Turner Motorsport had a bit of a drama at the bus stop chicane with their BMW not too long ago. Car 96 nosing into the barrier with Don Young at the wheel. Andrew Marriott can give us an update from that crew.
Yeah, well, I think I can give you an update from one of the guys that Owen was racing against yesterday, because I'm down here with Cameron Lawrence. Cameron, we think Don had a bit of an incident, and we see the car's very smoky. Do you know what's going on with it?
Yeah, I got a little spin in the bus stop, and unfortunately got into the tire barrier just a little bit, so it just kind of dislodged the bodywork. and we're having a little bit of an issue with holding the hood down at speed. So it's a little distracting, hard to see the apexes. It's already a hard car to see out of, so it's just making it difficult to see at night. So we've been in a couple of times to try to fix it, just checking everything out. The car looks mechanically sound, but it's just a little hard with the hood.
But a good situation for you here, because you've got a couple of factory BMW drivers in the car as well. Good to match yourself against people like Martin Tomczyk.
Yeah, it's been awesome just being with these Turner guys, and the M6 has been really well until you know, the little struggles here in the race. But the guys are working really hard, and having the two factory guys to run with, it's just amazing learning experience, and it's been a lot of fun for me. So it's a really good group, and I really hope to be back for more.
Meanwhile, you've got an airline ticket in your pocket for somewhere exciting next week.
Yeah, you just reminded me I need to check in for my flight for Bathurst. So yeah, I got a little bit of an early departure, and you know, ready to sleep on the plane, I guess. So still got to make it back to Orlando and get to the airport with all my bags, but really excited for next week for sure.
Enjoy yourself at Bathurst. He's been in Dubai, he was at the Raw, he's here, and then he's off to Australia. That's a busy racing driver.
Gone are the days where you have a winter period, frankly, and you know, we all kind of down tools for 3 months because you've got this race, and I know this has been a January event since its inception, possibly, but now you can go racing in Australia in a week's time. We've got racing in December I did the Gulf 12 hours at Abu Dhabi at the Yas Marina circuit, the Dubai 24 as well. There is an endurance race meeting somewhere every month of the year now.
That's right. You can stay busy almost every weekend, it seems like now.
Yeah. Just need to build those air miles up and make sure you can get the car either air freighted or across the sea somewhere to the various locations. But it's tremendous
just
stuff.
Use another one.
Well, have a car in every continent. Why not?
That's right. Interesting now, you know, that Castroneves, they changed the hood at Team Penske in the Acura. We saw almost 195 in that last stint. I know he's on used tires here, Jeremy, but 191 is what he's been kind of consistently running trap speed now, and his times have slowed down. I wonder if that's a strategy move when they double stint tires, that they put that higher downforce nose on, and we'll see them switch back to it when they change tires coming up the next pit stop, because they've gone back and forth here twice now.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Aaron, certainly, but it's a major struggle now for Castroneves. I mean, he's barely able to break into the 39s. In fact, I think most of his last few laps have been in the 40s, whereas he was running 38s, mid 38s on the
fresh
tires. Yeah, fresher tires.
With that low downforce nose.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. So yeah, I mean, you know, at least they're still learning these cars, relatively speaking, and you know, they now know what works and what doesn't, or they're beginning to know exactly what works and what doesn't. So it's still, you know, plenty of time. We're, you know, not even close yet to halfway through the race. Another we're 16 hours to go, so 8 hours down. I guess that's 1/3 distance, isn't it? Just covered then.
Yes, it is.
And
I just think it's an interesting strategy. You got Team Penske coming into this year full time. As I've watched this race over the years, and never seen a team go back and forth on the noses with that downforce configuration like that.
Yeah, that
so that's
together.
That close to. This is going to be interesting as we get further into this event on how that plays into the speed of that car.
This is RS2 IMSA Radio, part of the Radio Show Limited network of channels. We're live trackside at Daytona International Speedway, and as Jeremy Shaw quite rightly says, 8 hours down, so twice as much of that time still to go. We'll be back with the next hour in just a moment. Welcome one and all to the Daytona International Speedway for the 56th running of the Rolex 24. It's Philippe Albuquerque for the number 5 Mustang Sampling Racing Action Express Cadillac that leads after 272 laps. 21.2 seconds is the gap back to Helio Castroneves. It's Renger van der Zande in 3rd position in the number 10 Wayne Taylor Racing Konica Minolta Cadillac. And let's kick off this hour with a chat with Martin Brundle down in the pit lane with Andrew Marriott.
Yeah, he doesn't know I'm coming. I'm right behind you, mate. Well, Martin's here, just relaxing together with his wife and his son. Well, it's a family occasion.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear the question there, Andrew. How are you?
It wasn't really one. I just said it's a family occasion down here.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's going quite well. The race is starting to come back to the team. Alex, somebody knocked him in the first lap, broke the rear bodywork, so it took him a couple of stints to get the car right again. But they're heading to be best P2. But I must say the DPIs look like they've got quite a bit of performance over the P2s when they need to. And anyway, still 16 hours to go, and reasonably happy down here.
Of course, you zap round here in the Jaguar, and I think you probably went as fast as they go now.
I can't remember the sort of lap times we used to. But yeah, the IMSA Jaguars had incredible downforce and a 5-speed manual gearbox and a great big V12 in the back. There was a mighty engine. But yeah, we had some good races here. 88 and 90 Jaguar versus Porsche. But I think this is probably one of the highest quality grids I've ever seen at Daytona. I think all the way through, the quality in depth is unquestionably the highest. And that's why we've seen so few yellows. Alex was telling me before the race we're barely going to see a yellow because the cars are good. So many pro driver lineups as well. And we've seen very few crazy incidents, even with that sudden downpour. So it reminds you of the quality of the field.
No, you were telling me when we were having a chat earlier in the paddock that you're really proud of the way Alex has developed as a driver.
Yeah, he's 27 years old. He's worked hard. He's just got the full, all of the tools, all of the skill sets required now to be a very successful long-distance driver, sports car driver. It suits him, suits his mentality. He can think his way through every lap, every race, and doesn't make mistakes, touch wood, and he's got great speed, great consistency, good on the fuel, good on the tyres, good feedback, works with his teammates, realises you've got to get 3 or 4 drivers up to speed, not just yourself. So he's put all that together very nicely, and like me, I think, excels in a sports car probably more than he did in a single-seater.
You think that? I've been talking about you. You were better in a sports car than a single-seater? You were pretty quick at that too.
Just lost Andrew there, frustratingly, because we're having an interesting chat with Martin Brundle, but it's amazing that Alex is now 27, frankly. Andrew Marriott, hopefully we can get you back again to continue the conversation with Martin. Struggling to get Andrew back, but I remember experiencing one of Alex's very early Formula 3 races at, I think, Thruxton in the UK, and that was probably a good 10 years ago now. So it's amazing, isn't it, how old it makes you feel when you realise how much time has passed.
Well,
you think, the youth is coming through, and they're nearly 30 now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember way before Alex was on the scene, watching Martin racing,
yes.
F2000 cars and Formula 3 and Formula 1 obviously after that. But yeah, tell me about it. And Andrew too.
Yes, indeed. The second generation coming through, and obviously I've watched so many Grand Prix with Martin in it, and now an esteemed commentator for Formula 1 around the world. But good to have him here, and he knows that Formula 1 is not the be-all and end-all in motorsport, as we all do. 24.5 seconds a gap between Philippe Albuquerque and Helio Castroneves, with Eric Curran in 3rd position, Juan Pablo Montoya 4th, and Scott Sharp in the ESM Nissan is 5th.
Yeah, 1 lap down. And Eric Curran has just overtaken Juan Pablo Montoya, by the way, for that 3rd position, and that became 3rd after Renger van der Zande brought the number 10 Konica Minolta Cadillac onto pit lane last time around, right on schedule. 32 lap stint, having the previous stint, of course, was shortened because of the team's 2nd flat right rear tyre, but having made that change, he's able to run the regular 32 lap stint. So it'll be another 3 or 4 laps before we find the rest of the leaders coming onto pit lane.
two Acura NSXs running together and through the banking, about to come towards the tri-oval, one going an awful lot more quickly than the other, it would appear. So that's maybe the 69 about to go a lap down on the outside. These are two GTD cars, and that is a class still led by the 29 Audi, the white and green example of Sheldon van der Linde, with Ben Keating in second position for Riley Motorsports in their Mercedes AMG. Rolf Eichen at the wheel of the 11 Lamborghini Huracan once again. That's the Mirko Bortolotti car. And who else will we be seeing at the wheel of that machine? Frank Pereira and Rick Brokers has already been doing some driving. Andy Lally's fourth in GTD ahead of Townsend Bell in the 64 Ferrari and Alvaro Parent in that 86 Acura NSX, which is one of those two cars, the 93 being the other one of Koen Ledegaard. Back up onto the main oval goes that scrap 4 GTD. Meanwhile, Philippe Albuquerque settling in. He's got that gap up to nearly 30 seconds now, so you're quite right about what we had as a titanic fight, and we actually got to enjoy Philippe Albuquerque needing to overtake Elio Castroneves on two separate occasions. Castroneves got back in front, but we knew that he double stinted, or the team at Penske had double stinted the tyres, and it's really starting to pay now as far as the Acura's speed.
Yeah, you're right, Johnny Palmer, because on lap 260, which was by which time both of the cars were up to speed after the last pit stops, the gap between them was 10 seconds. It's now 30 seconds, so that's 20 seconds in 16 laps. That's over a second a lap. That's the difference between fresh tyres and not.
The battle to look out for, Owen, is this scrap between Curran and Montoya. I didn't realise they were only 0.8 of a second between them.
Yeah, just made that pass last lap, a couple of laps ago, 3 or 4 laps ago actually now, did Curran, got past Montoya. Montoya now sticking with him.
It certainly is. It's important to not get too far away from a car in front. You can really use that draft up on the banking. And careful not to lose an opponent through traffic either. But often it's the car second in the sequence can read the situation a little better, and that's where a gap of maybe 4 or 5 seconds can close, because the guy in front's having to decide where to get by the traffic.
Johnny, you're exactly right, especially going through the traffic. Yeah, if Montoya can hang back a little bit and get ready to see what's going to happen with the traffic and make that move before Curran can react to what he's going to do.
0.7 seconds at the start of this lap. Very busy coming off the main oval. Albuquerque just starting lap 279. And yeah, that gap's opened up a touch now between Eric and Juan Pablo. 1.7 seconds between the second of the Cadillacs, that's the Wheel and Engineering red and white car, and the number 6 Acura. Scott Sharp still there in 5th position, but a lap off the pace. And then Renger van der Zande, after the puncture, sent the 10 car onto pit road. So they've just fallen away from the lead lap as well, and we'll be looking for that elusive caution. I mean, when on earth are we going to see the
they'll get it. They'll get it back as soon as the other guys make their pit stops, because they're out of sequence. Yeah, that's right. They've just made a pit stop just 3 or 4 laps ago, so that dropped them from 3rd position overall to off to the lead lap. But they will get that back when everybody else comes onto pit lane. I would expect where are we? Number 5 and 31 should be in probably next lap, actually.
Yeah. Yes, because of course the 10 crew, along with changing the tyre, will have given the car a full service. They will have fueled it to the brim as well, and send it out again. So as you say, they're just a little bit off the 8 ball now, but not to that extent.
Matt McMurray's struggling a little bit in this. They're kind of a 90th, running in 8th place. He took over from Tristan Vautier at the last pit stop, and he has been. He's lost a position half a dozen laps ago to number 37 car, which is Daniel Juncadella at the wheel of that car. That's the car he shares with Lance Stroll, Felix Rosenqvist and Robin Freins. That's one of the two Jackie Chan DCR Jota entries, the Orica chassis, the Orica Gibsons. Again, that car, I thought it was going to run well. It has. They lost a lap pretty early on, but they've got good pace in that number 37 car.
Let's hear about the pit stop for the race leader, number 5 with Che.
Mustang sampling car is in, getting 4 new tires and a lot of fuel, no driver change, so that's Philippe Albuquerque staying behind the wheel. And immediately in front of them, causing them a little bit of, well, anguish as they try to leave the pit box, is the number 11, the GRT, Grasser Racing Team. As, yeah, it was a bit of a slow escape for Philippe. The GRT car has come in. It is a driver change going on here. Rolf Einichen out, and much to Ivo Bruker's delight as he sits up on the pit box, his son Rick is getting behind the wheel for his first night stint around Daytona International Speedway. Car comes off the air jacks. Rick will have fresh tires and a lot of fuel, as well as a bit of oil topped off on the back of the car. Rick has no problem exiting the pit lane.
So the green Lamborghini back on the move, and I was hearing about Ivo Bruker's actually during Rick's earlier stint in the race. Ivo living every single moment for young man Rick and almost steering through the corners. Now there was a little bit of an off-track moment there for Ben Keating, the second place GTD car, which is the Riley Mercedes, caught in a load of traffic and having to make room for quite a number of prototypes, just in a bit sideways there. Not sure there, Owen, that Ben got his ideal line into the bus stop because of so much prototype traffic needed to get by.
Yeah, it was getting to the bus stop, had a prototypes all lined up to the right side of him, kind of took the corner away from him as far as the entry there, and then he got pushed out wide. It's basically a one-line groove through there. You get outside that groove, and there's all the tire debris, everything out there, and that's what he got into, and the car got really loose on him. So it's going to take him probably a lap or so, or maybe 2 laps to get all that debris off the tires and get back to pace. But he's doing a fabulous job to hold second down in GTD. Like Jim and I were talking earlier, Ben is getting his time in early, front loading him, and then save the pros here for the end of the race.
But he also qualified the car as well, which meant he had to start the race and actually brought that 33 car up the order when he was against arguably quicker drivers than him, you know, the golds and the platinums. So really did himself a great bit of justice there. Has raced Vipers in the past, hasn't he, with Riley Motorsports. They've moved to the new Mercedes AMG GT3 car, and I suppose used to the front engine, the long nose of the Viper. So maybe the transfer to the Mercedes has been relatively easy. A lot of people say that the AMG is a great car to drive as well. Gives you lots of warning if it is going to have a slight moment. You had experience?
It does. I had a big slide out turn 1. Obviously GT4, not GT3, but it was very comfortable to drive and good correction, and we went on our way, so didn't have any problem there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the GT4 spec Mercedes, very, very new, and I remember being at Spa back in the last year when teams like HTP Motorsport, Black Falcon turned up with those cars. They hadn't been homologated by that point, but you could just tell these were going to be the cars of the next few years.
They are. I mean, Mercedes-Benz AMG did a great job with the GT4. They took a lot of the things that they learned with the GT3 and applied it to the GT4. And it's just a wonderful car to drive. And obviously, we debuted it yesterday in the Continental race. And looking forward to a good season with it.
Yeah. With running 4-hour races, 2-hour races, will come the reliability, which I think has been the thing that Mercedes have been trying to nail down as early as possible. But you're only going to find out things that are potentially going to go wrong by running these races.
No, you just got to get in the car and go run. And a testament to them. I mean, one of the cars just showed up from Germany less than a week ago. Wow. And went right on track here, on Friday, and it's our teammates, and they finished also. So I mean, testament to Mercedes and all those manufacturers out there that are building the GT3 and GT4 cars that are basically ready to go on track right when the owners get them. And a couple pit stops, the Wheeling car was in, and also is it Custer Nevis in there, Jeremy?
Yes.
Right now.
Yeah, second car brought in by Elio, and will he stay on board? Because Philippe Albuquerque stays inside the 5 car. Scott Sharp's brought the number 2 car in as well. That was running in 5th place, just off the lead lap. And this is where Renger van der Zande is going to gain that ground back again that we were talking about in the 10. So they pitted a little early, were forced to with the rear left puncture. That car can now run deeper into this window. And the 7 car taking a touch longer than possibly the others, so maybe they are doing a driver change Team Penske. Castroneves, I think, has been at the wheel for some time now. Well, Albuquerque making that stop on the previous lap. We'll let all this shake out. They've certainly done a driver change at the 2 crew, and it is Ricky Taylor to go on board in the number 7 car. So Castroneves out, Ricky Taylor in. Let's hope he's pretty much back to full fitness and full health after a really trying week. And it's Ryan DL to take charge of the Tequila Patrón 2 car from Scott Sharp. So a number of teams after some double and in some cases triple stints with the drivers, choosing to rotate their crew now. Maybe a driver that's just done good 2 hours or so, deserving some rest. Felipe Nasser back at the wheel of the 31 Cadillac as well. So the race takes yet another twist in its complexion. And let's see what Ricky Taylor versus Philippe Albuquerque will provide for us. Meanwhile, the 3 car, driven by Tonio Garcia, hot on the heels of Nick Tandy. They're reaching the bus stop now, and that's Richard Westbrook just ahead too, but they're not on the same lap, remember. It's Joey Hand versus Richard Westbrook. 2.2 seconds separates those guys, and then a lap back, Nick Tandy and Tonio Garcia separated by 0.2 of a second. So mention that driver change at Tequila Patrón ESM. Scott Sharp is out of the number 2 car, and now to Andy Marriott.
Yeah, fortunately my microphone's working again. Here's Scott. Scott, you won this race before some of the kids in it were born. How's it feel? And you're still fast.
Please don't say that, Andrew. You're merely making me feel old.
Yeah, but you won that a couple of years ago as well.
Well, yeah, it's just a great race, especially when you've got the car working pretty well, which I think right now the Tequila Patrón ESM team does. You know, tricky conditions out there, but we're just hammering away, and you know, it seems like the tires come to us, so able to run some pretty good pace, and we're just trying to log miles and stay out of trouble.
Yeah, because we all know it's all about the last couple of hours, but you know, you've got a good pace here, and you're definitely in the hunt.
Yeah, no, we are. We'll have to wait and see if, you know, if we can get to the end unscathed, if we've got enough pace as some of the other guys, but so far so good.
And you're feeling good? You felt good at the wheel?
Yeah, I felt great. I was going to do a triple, but the way we're doing tires, we only did a double.
Terrific team you put together here, Scotty.
Thanks, man.
Scott Sharp with Andrew Marriott down in our Continental Tire pit lane. It's 11 o'clock, so nearly fireworks time, Japs. And another little milestone reached in the race. The big wheel is always turning me into sort of an hypnotic...
especially right now.
Well, yeah, I know, particularly that formation. I can barely focus, but it's mesmerising, isn't it? Get this motor race going on with that thing pumping away, and especially when it starts to phase like that as well. There are plenty of people down on the infield who've totally lost track of what's going on the road. I am sure that they will return to us in a drunken stupor tomorrow morning. And remember, we're racing till mid-afternoon tomorrow at 2:40. The flag falls. That seems an awfully long way away at this stage. Philippe Albuquerque, 284 laps soon to be completed, with Ricky Taylor now on his tail and Renger van der Zande back up to 3rd.
Yeah, that Mustang sampling Cadillac back into the lead of the race on lap 282 last time around. That was our 38th lead change by my unofficial reckoning, and he's got a big lead now over the number 7 car of Ricky Taylor. The gap was it got out to just about a little bit over half a minute prior to the round of pit stops. Another 5 seconds added now, while Ricky Taylor, of course, gets himself back acclimated to that car and get himself properly up to speed again, having done very few laps this whole week.
Yeah, and let's hope that, well, I mean, he's done an awful lot of laps around this place through his career. I know this track...
Won the race last year, yeah.
Well, yeah, and in previous years too, had very good results with brother Jordan. And people like Max Angelelli raced with his father as well in previous seasons. So I'm sure Ricky will get back into the groove very quickly indeed as his health continues to improve. So About to come through the tri-oval now is the 7 car. New car for him to get to grips with the course. We've got Ricky versus Jordan for the first time here. Is that the first time that they've been in separate cars through their history, do we know, Jeremy?
No. Okay. But it's, you know, it's the last couple of 3 years they've been together, yeah.
And I'm sure there's still the old sneaky chat in places like Marion's between the two brothers just to find out what's going on in each of the teams. How much they'll give away is another question, as the fireworks let rip then from just in front of Lake Lloyd, lighting up the sky here at Daytona International Speedway, the 56th running of the Rolex 24. And the atmosphere, were it not smoky enough with all the barbecues nearby, about to get very cloudy indeed, which might affect visibility in the odd place around the track. The drivers needing to be careful not to get distracted by these fireworks that are there for the fans. Now, Sheldon van der Linde being lined up by Andrew Marriott for a quick conversation. He's been very, very fast in the 29 Audi. Sheldon just having a quick debrief with the team now, but desperate to hear from the South African, racing with Kelvin van der Linde in that car. And the combination in car number 29 is very strong indeed. That's a car that we have seen people like Connor De Filippi race as well. He's been certainly a man at Monteplast to beat, but being signed by BMW, Connor De Filippi, and doing a good job in the 25 car in this event. But back to GTD and back to the race leader. Number 29 has been driven by Sheldon van der Linde most recently, now with Andy Marriott.
As they say in South Africa, that was really lekker.
You know, really, really nice stint actually. Quite a lot of traffic, to be honest. But yeah, we got past it. The car's running well so far, no damage, and that's the most important thing. We've got to keep the car in one piece until the 23rd hour, and it's all down to that.
Was that a triple you did then?
Sorry,
it's a long stint. Was it a triple?
No, it was a double. I got in off my brother for a double, and now Jeffrey's in the car.
How is it racing with the brother?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, we give each other so much advice, and just having him here, supporting me and supporting each other, I think it's a dream come true for both of us, and we hope to continue together in the future.
Well, what's the plan for 2018? You're going to go back and race in Germany?
Well, it's not announced yet, but it looks like I'll be racing in Europe again, and it will be GT3, so I'm really looking forward, and I think this is great preparation for what's to come this year.
Well, thanks for doing a phenomenal job. And lacquer means nice.
Okay, thank you for that, educating us every step of the way with a little bit of South African terminology. But Sheldon particularly, I mean, I knew all about Kelvin van der Linde's speed, but Sheldon's been very impressive, as has Jeffrey Schmidt in fairness. Yeah. Both silver drivers, and Jeffrey back at the wheel now and continuing to lead in car 29.
That's right, all youngsters of course. Here, Christopher Mies is the old timer in that car at the age of 28. Jeffrey Schmidt's 23, Kelvin van der Linde's 21, and his younger brother Sheldon just 18, will be 19 in May. And of course, a hugely successful family from New Zealand, Henny van der Linde and the whole bunch of them. There's got 3 generations of van der Lindes have been tearing up the tracks, not only in South Africa, but around the world for the last, well, many decades.
Yes, continuing the dynasty.
Yeah.
Wonderful to see. Fireworks incredibly loud. I thought it was that louder than in recent years, possibly. And the atmosphere is very, very smoky now indeed, as that drifts across towards the West Horseshoe and the banking. So we better hope that the headlights on these race cars are intense to pick out the road in front. And the banking, very, very special as you peer out. I mean, many people that are new to this Daytona venue talk about not focusing out front where you would normally on a street, but actually almost top left-hand corner as you steer around the banking. It's a strange concept when you first experience it.
That's right, Johnny. As you get on the banking, you got to kind of look up the top of the A-pillar on the left side of the windshield as you're going through the banking there. And the first time I did this race in 1997, and Jeremy could probably remember this also, there used to be no lights around here.
Right.
And so this, I mean, talk about darkness, it was completely dark everywhere. And it's obviously changed quite a bit since 1997 to where we are today.
Yeah, 1980 was my first visit to Daytona to watch the 24 hours, and the Yost Racing team won that race Reinhold Jost driving along with Volkert Böll and Rolf Stommelen, and the victory margin that year, 33 laps. Not 33 thousandths of a second, which is what's quite more likely this time.
We are in somewhat of a golden era.
Yes, we certainly are.
fully realise that with 37.8 seconds the margin. Let's hear from Townsend Bell, and then we can hear a little more from Jeremy Shaw. Townsend's with Andy.
Yeah, Townsend's down here, just out of the car, mate.
Yeah, Ferrari's running great. We've made up some time. I think we're it's like 7th now and coming along. So really pleased with the effort here. Frankie and Bill did a great job. Sam Bird was flying. So we're just kind of settling in. Another year, new teammates, new engineers. Andrew, it seems like every year we come to Daytona and we find the chemistry quickly, but we're in the hunt for sure. The Ferrari's running strong, and I'm looking forward to getting to some daylight.
Yeah, but you're back with a team that you know.
Absolutely. That part feels like home. A lot of familiar faces. But, you know, it's always something new. That's what I love about coming back to IMSA each year. It's something changes. This track changes. You know, the asphalt's not any younger, so a lot of less inherent grip in the asphalt. So you're sliding around a little bit more, and all these P cars out there with a lot of world-class drivers, sometimes a little too world-class. So they shoved us out of the way a couple times.
Now you finally closed the book on your Indy career, but your television career is blossoming.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like the senior tour, isn't it? You know, I feel like a golfer a bit, but I'll tell you, when you're out there, you're giving it absolutely everything, and I love throwing this Ferrari around here. It just takes everything you throw at it and just begs you to go deeper into the corner. The brakes are phenomenal, so we're having fun. And so far, so good. We, getting through the night all right here. The pace is good, and we'll just see where we are come daylight.
Are you calling IndyCar races again for NBC?
Yeah, I'll be back with NBC. In fact, I think I was on the Detroit Auto Show a few hours ago. The miracle of sort of live TV. And then we started Phoenix with the IndyCar schedule. It's going to be an amazing year in the Verizon IndyCar Series. New body kits, drivers more important than ever this year, and the cream's going to rise to the top. So we go Phoenix, Long Beach, and then Barber Motorsports Park 3 in a row. I can't wait.
Townsend Bell, of course, a former champion in the category he's in.
And driving the 64 Scuderia Corsa Ferrari, Sam Bird started that car, and Townsend sharing with Frank Montecalvo and Bill Sweedler. Let's just tell you how the 64 car is doing in GTD. It is 7th place with Montecalvo doing the driving now. We've got two Ferraris together actually on the screen, because Matthias Lauda is just ahead in the 51 Spirit Race Ferrari. Remember, it's the 29 Audi leading GTD from Alvaro Parent's Acura car 86, and Ben Keating in the 33 car is still top 3.
Yeah, it's got a big lead too, hasn't it, to the Monoplast Audi. Yeah. Well out in front over Alvaro Parent in the Acura of Michael Shank Racing against car number 86. About 14 seconds behind him is Ben Keating in the number 33 Mercedes, and then about half a minute behind him is Rick Breukers in the number 11 Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini. But I'm not sure, has the Audi got a full lap lead? Or not quite. Every time I look at it, it's minus 1 lap.
That's the case, yes.
Every time I look at the score,
well, that's actually according to the team. So Lant Motorsport figure they've got a lap lead. They might be slightly biased, but I'm sure they're stating facts there. And that's the beauty of having such a strong driving lineup and so few yellows once again.
That's right. Meanwhile, we must have had a problem for number 90 car, unfortunately, just a little while ago, because there was a lengthy pit stop for Matt McMurray. Came into the pits in 7th place, just 1 lap off the pace. And all of a sudden now, that car is 3 laps behind at almost 5-minute pit stop for car number 90. So we're trying to find out what the problem is there. Meantime, in GTLM, the 2 Fords running pretty much in lockstep at the front. They've just both been in for service. Well, the 67 car was in moments ago, just left the pit lane. number 66 car is in the lead, is in the pit lane at the moment.
And Shea actually watching the previous stop for the 67 and the current stop for 66.
It was fuel and tires for both, and they cleaned out a lot of rubber bits from the front air intake on both the 67 and the 66, and did windshield tear off. So clearly the drivers radioing in that they couldn't quite see the fireworks clearly enough, Johnny.
Thank you for that. And to the other end of our Continental Tire pit lane with Andrew Marriott chatting to Adam Christodoulou.
Climbing a ladder first. I can see it's Adam Christodoulou because it says it on his shoe. It says, come and sit down with me, because I'm an old man climbing up here. Adam, wow, what a battle in GTD. You're right in the middle of this.
Sorry, say again?
So, what a battle in GTD, and you're right in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's going great. So Ben's out there at the moment and he's really been fighting hard all the way through. He had a little moment a few laps back going through the bus stop, but no, he held it together, and yeah, he's been driving great. So you saw it from the start of the race. He ended up, he started in 12th and he dropped back to 13th, and then by the end of his third stint he was up into 4th, and that shows you how strong he's been.
One of the great things about motor racing is you race on so many different tracks. You've been a winner of the Nürburgring 24 Hours. The other week we saw you racing in Dubai, and here you are on another completely different circuit.
Yeah, it's great. Obviously the GT3 category is absolutely massive now, and they race everywhere in the world. You can take one car and you can race it in Europe, the UK, bring it over here, even Dubai, and it's the same car. Obviously tyres and setups are different, and they're generally run by individual teams, but the category outright, the GTD, or as it's known in Europe, the GT3, the car's usable everywhere in the world, and it's great for us because we're able to jump in the same cars in different countries with different teams and feel straight at home.
Of course, years ago, I think I remember in Formula Renault, you managed to make that transition from single-seaters. I guess like everyone, you had a dream of going to Formula One, but here you are with a great career going.
Yeah, it's been going great. So I was in the right place at the right time for a few things to fall into place, and I was given good opportunities, especially at the Nürburgring with racing with one of my first gentleman drivers, Klaas Hummel. I raced with him for a few years, and then eventually got given the opportunity to race at the Nürburgring with Black Falcon, and yeah, it just sort of snowballed in the right direction, thankfully, and it's one of them things. Obviously, getting there is extremely hard, and then once you're there, trying to keep the ball rolling, and obviously making sure that you're getting the results. And last year was a real dream year. No, sorry, 2016 was a real dream year. I signed with AMG, and we won our biggest race of the season, which was the Nürburgring 24 Hours. Last year was a little tough, but we were able to finish third here, and hopefully this year we can get the win.
We're going to stop because the 10 cars don't big drama. Adam, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Adam Christodoulou with Andrew Marriott, but we're in a similar situation again, boys, for the number 10 car with Renger van der Zande at the wheel of this Wayne Taylor racing machine. Another rear right puncture, and I know Shea Adams has been trying to shape up Ryan Briscoe for a quick interview, but I think the larger story here is that the 10 car's got to come back into pit road from what was third position, but it's already dropped to 6th.
Yeah, it has, and it's going very, very slowly. That's a third puncture in, well, not very long at all. I'll figure that out momentarily, but Jordan Taylor, he's got that car going as slowly as he possibly can, limping back towards the pit lane. He had to, it obviously happened, I think, half either in the banking 1 and 2 or down the back straight. You can see he worked his way through that very tight chicane now at the bus stop if he goes straight on there, and since then it's just been trying to cruise that car back and do minimal damage to that right rear corner.
Done a good job, but sadly a large chunk of that car is now missing, Shea Adam, including one of the tail lights. So Wayne Taylor Racing setting to work.
Yeah, Johnny, it's going to be a little bit of repair work for the Wayne Taylor crew. They have the extra bodywork out and ready. I can see it actually from the Ford Ganassi box, but they have gone to work. They need to make sure that there's no suspension issue, and they seem to be satisfied with that. But the way the wheel was sitting just there, didn't look 100% on target. They might actually just be sending the 10 back out as it is.
There's coolant pouring from the right-hand side, I'm afraid. I know you're in the Ford garage, or the Ford Pratt, so you're struggling to see that. Is Ryan still around, Ryan Briscoe, for a
he's
big
here.
chat? Let's hear from Ryan as Wayne Taylor Racing continue on the work, just on the Ford GTs raced so far.
I know for Ryan, it's hard for you to see that, but for you guys in the 67 Ford GT, it's a new chassis for you guys this year going into the race. Everything going about according to plan for you guys?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we changed chassis this year. It's actually the original, the first car that we had at Chip Ganassi Racing, but it had less miles on it than the one we've been racing the last 2 years. We've got a new crew on the 67 car too, and yeah, just so proud of everyone. They've been working really hard. The car is performing really well. It's been fast. You know, we had a little scare at the end of the first stint with Westbrook with the, I'm not exactly sure what it was. The wheel was a little bit loose when we came in, but ever since it's been smooth sailing. Scott and Rick have been doing a flawless job. Scott had to drive in the wet there, did a great job, but yeah, just we're cruising along now, and long way to go, but I'm looking forward to my next stint.
Is there any extra pressure on you guys when it's the boss man who will be handing out the Rolexes at the end of the race?
Yeah, well, I'd love to get one from the boss man, so a lot of work to do yet. We're not really thinking that far ahead, but yeah, we're working hard, and we're going to try to keep it clean, which is a huge challenge around here, but so far so good.
Good luck, Ryan.
Thank you.
That's Chip Ganassi, who is the 2018 Grand Marshal for the Rolex 24 and was awarded a Rolex, in fact, last night at the Grand Dinner. But from...
It's a sorry sight.
Well, indeed, from a Ford that's going incredibly strongly, two of them, in fact, in GTLM. This is a former race-winning number 10 car, going backwards towards the garage space here to be worked upon after another tyre has pummeled the rear right corner of that Konica Minolta DPI.
Yeah, the first failure for that team came around about 7:30 this evening on lap 165. That put the car off the lead lap for the first time. It happened again on lap 250 odd, 252, and now here we are with 290 laps on the board, another one, and this one though, extensive damage to that right side, and looked like one of the coolers was broken, and the car was leaking a lot of fluid, and has now gone back to the garage area.
Also, the worry though down at Konica Minolta will be that the engine temperature has now gone sky high because the coolant's pouring out the side of the car, and even if they get it fixed, they'll be bothered about that 5.5 litre Cadillac engine doing the distance now, I suppose. Engines do not like getting that hot.
They don't. And that was a number 90 car we got a glimpse of there. That car had a long pit stop about 10 minutes ago. Lost a couple of laps. Is now 3 laps off the pace. Yeah, 3.5 laps off the pace, I think, or maybe 4 laps off now for car number 90. So, hey, you know, things have changed a lot, haven't we? Now we've got a Cadillac out front. We've got 2 Acuras now in second and third. Number 7 car, Ricky Taylor, but he's a full 40 seconds or more behind the race-leading Cadillac, car number 5 of Philippe Albuquerque. Juan Pablo Montoya, the second of the Acuras, in a distant third place, and he is only a couple of seconds or so ahead of Felipe Nasser in the number 31 Cadillac. So it's the 2 Action Express cars run by the Action Express team, and the 2 Acuras. They've now got a pretty handy margin over everybody else. Next car is number 2 Nissan. That is a lap behind the overall.
Also hearing from Shea Adam off air that there's concern about the 90 car, the 90 car, which is, on its way in because of engine problems.
Again, what was the problem a while ago? Because, like I said, it had about a 5-minute pit stop about 10 minutes ago.
Well, she says it's on its way to the garage, so...
Oh, right.
The 11th
What, number 90 car?
Just to confirm, Shay, this is the 90 car, right? That you have indication. Yes, it's just come in now and turning left. Yeah, so that's confirmed here. Matt McMurray on pit road and then straight away turning left, which gives access to the paddock here at Daytona, where it will head to the team, where far more mechanics can work on that car than are permitted over the pit wall. So actually those two cars side by side, where they've been positioned this year at Daytona, the 10 and the 90, engine cover coming off that number 90 car, the Spirito Daytona entry.
Yeah, that's 2 of the 4 Cadillacs in the garage area, as you say, absolutely next to each other as well. So I guess they can compare notes, but that's very disappointing for the Cadillac aficionados, of which there are many here at the racetrack. Those two now shown in 11th and 12th places and slipping down the order.
Cadillac DPI is given a smaller engine, remember, in 2018. It's a 5.5 litre engine, which is positively minuscule compared to the 6.2 last year, but they won't have done quite as much mileage on the 5.5 litre unit. It's still being tested, I suppose, tested to destruction in some cases, particularly for this 24-hour event. The 6.2 litre engine had a phenomenal record through the course of 2017. The race leader, also powered by that same unit though, going strongly at the moment, Philippe Albuquerque in car 5, 41.3 seconds clear.
Yeah, and pounding out the laps, and running a really good pace, running 38s, mid to low 38s, way out in front and extending its lead. The gap's sort of stabilised now around about 40 seconds perhaps over Ricky Taylor, a little bit more now, but certainly that number 5 car really does look strong at the moment.
It's one of the biggest margins we've had all race long.
Yeah.
40 seconds, but as you say, it's started to stabilise now with Ricky Taylor settling into a groove. Juan Pablo Montoya didn't change driver, they didn't change driver at the 6 and kept with Montoya. But Ricky Taylor new into that car. Felipe Nasr trying to close in on Montoya, and that gap starting to come down somewhat. But I mean, the Cadillac crews will certainly be paying attention to what's going on down in with the 10 and the 90, won't they? They will get, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the number 10 car, that would appear to have been caused by that flailing tyre,
of course,
the overheating. But the 90 car, we don't know, because, like I say, we didn't see that the car had a tyre problem at all. It could have done. It certainly spent 5 minutes in the pit lane about 15 minutes ago now. We don't know why that was, but I'm sure we will find out.
Yeah, the ECR engineers are definitely going to be translating the information over to Action Express about whatever's going on with the 90 car, because the 90 car is a separate issue, like Jeremy was saying, from the 10 car.
That's a very good point. I wouldn't say self-induced, but certainly, you can't help a tyre going down. They have had an experience of a rear left tyre going pop, though, on the 10 machine. Whether they are persisting with car setup, i.e. cambers, or whether they've just been incredibly unlucky, difficult for us to tell from this distance. And also, as the track gets more and more worn in, more and more tyre pickup offline, maybe hammering those curbs a bit too much. Certainly the rear right is the tyre you expect to go first, this being an anti-clockwise circuit, so all the pressure, the wear, comes more on the rear and on the right-hand side. Andrew Marriott still in our Continental Tire pit lane. Let's get another report from him.
I'm down in Risi Competizione. Obviously the GTE car is edging up into the hunt now. I think I just saw it running in 3rd place. I was just going to get James Collada, but he's now put his crash helmet on because that car is coming in just a moment. And as soon as it comes in, and we'll grab the driver who jumps out of it. But just a bit too late with James, who's now making his way onto the pit wall in his bright red crash helmet, obviously the WEC GTE World Champion. So he's getting ready to climb aboard the racing car.
Thank you for that. They've certainly been through the mill down at Risi Competizione with a dramatic fire in the pit lane for the 82 car early on in the piece, and they tried on several occasions to get that fire extinguished. It kept going up, though, did the car, with I think fuel possibly leaking underneath the machine after it sprayed from a loose hose. They did tremendously well to get the fire out, and it then carried on covered in powder from the extinguishers. a nice red livery on that Risi Competizione car, somewhat spoiled, but it all goes to add to the effect of a 24-hour race. They get a race win, that will all be lacquered into the car surface. Ford GT's running at very close quarters here, but I suppose really the 67's getting a little help from Joey Hand, utilising that toe. I always get a bit fearful when you've got the two race leaders from the same team very close to one another, but these guys know what they're doing.
Yeah, they're professionals, yeah, and I'm sure Mike Hall at Chip Ganassi's told these guys, you know, don't take any chances right now, just help each other out. Still a long way to go. We got just over 15 hours to go at this point. The big thing, Johnny, is we've had some of these tire issues down the back straightaway, down to the bus stop. How much debris is down in that area that we're not actually seeing or picking up on our television screens that we're seeing? I know the bus stop, the angle that we get from the bus stop, it's definitely one lane. It looks like there's almost mud to the outside of that area where that rain we had about several hours ago, it seems like now, is kind of soaked in on the outside there and just got dirt. It looks like a one groove through there, but what debris is coming to the bus stop from all these tire issues that we've had?
Yeah, you're right. We've got a lot of bits and pieces and nasty stuff out there, which can easily cause more problems as well.
It does become more and more like a gramophone record, if you like. The fact that there is one track through there, and if your needle just comes off very slightly, you can be certainly on the grass, maybe into the barrier, because there's so much tyre pickup there that offers zero grip. The dirt's being brought on as well. They're very smallish curbs there, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And it's just, you run right over the yellow and little white kind of reflectors they put on top of those, and you go right over the top of those. But if you get outside that groove there in the bus stop, it's easy to get off. I mean, we saw Ben Keating, he did a great job in saving it there several laps ago, so it's just tough. And one thing with us not having cautions, normally IMSA goes out there and cleans that area. If we have a caution or a lengthy caution, they'll go out there and clean the bus stop area, which we haven't had time to even do that.
Yeah, but a racetrack is a living thing, particularly over a 24-hour period, and air quality changes through the course of a daytime and then into a nighttime stint, and track obviously on the main racing line getting grippier all the time, although a mixture of tyre manufactured tyre going down, which can be tricky to judge. Then we had the rain, of course, so that will have not quite washed the surface, but it will made it greener and less grippy. And then it comes back in again, but there are those little areas where if you just make a slight wrong moment in your braking area or your turning point, and you can be into one big moment before you know it. Very good speed now, I'm noticing, by Ricky Taylor all of a sudden.
Yeah.
That car's getting light.
That's right, yeah, he's getting towards the end of his stint now, I guess. 281, yeah, probably another 3 laps to expect that car into pit lane. 300 laps then completed by the leaders as Philip Albuquerque brings the number 5 car onto pit lane. That's pretty much right on schedule for that car. 22 laps again since its last stint. There's a glimpse of that number 10 car being pushed out.
Yeah, I know that because the car was reversed into the garage rather than being taken nose first in, as the Spirit of Daytona car was, the number 90 machine. That's still being worked on, I reckon. But Shea Adams been patiently watching what's been taking place down at Wayne Taylor Racing.
The 10 car is back out. It just came out from behind the wall. It is several laps down, and it did not stop in its pit box. Now, I'm not sure if it is still a rule, but it used to be that if you came out from behind the wall, you had to stop in your pit box. If it is, they will have to come back in and serve a drive-thru. If it's not, they're good to go. But the 5 car did come in here, as Jeremy said. Driver change. Bob Barbosa took over, and it was fuel and tires.
Let's get a word now with Andrew Marriott, who's found Alessandro Pierguidi at Ferrari.
Yeah, well, he's just up a ladder. He's just debriefing with the engineers, the reigning WEC World Champions, try and get his attention. I think he's coming down. Alessandro, can I get a quick word? Alessandro, can I get a quick word with you? It's really tough out there. The race seems to be coming a bit towards the Ferrari now.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting a good balance now. We are quite happy. much better than what we started before. But yeah, we have a small issue, electronic issue, and we'll fix it. So we're happy now because everything is going well back again. So let's finger crossed. It's very, very long, and yeah, we really believe in it.
And what about track conditions? Because there's quite a bit of debris out on the track now, particularly in.
Yeah, I mean, 1.5 hours ago when I started was really just a one-line drive, very easy to do a mistake because it was very wet outside. There is a lot of debris. You really need to be concentrated, stay on the racing line. It's very easy to have a puncture. We see a lot of puncture. So yeah, you really need to stay on the line without taking any risk outside. But you know, you need to overtake the slow part, and you know, you need to take some risk. It's very easy to do a mistake.
Well done, take a rest.
Thank you.
Alessandro Pierguidi, as Andrew quite rightly points out, the reigning World Endurance Champion with James Calado, and the Ferrari did tremendously well through the course of the year. Didn't win every single race, but showed great consistency for AF Corsa.
Yeah, very impressive too is Alessandro Pierguidi. Really good guy, speaks excellent English as we heard there, and he was certainly a major revelation when the Risi team started working with him. So he's going to be on board for however many races they do this season. I believe that Pierguidi is going to be part of that program. They're certainly not planning to do all of the races, and it's going to kind of be suck it and see how this weekend goes. It's going sort of okay at the moment, not much really better than that at this stage at least, as to how many more races that we'll do. They're certainly planning on doing 4 or 5 races, and if things begin to go well and things can turn around, then hopefully we'll see that car on a more regular basis. But right now the Fords have got everybody covered. We've got about a 90-second lead, minute and a half over. Right now it's number 4 Corvette running in 3rd place, because the Risi car after that pit stop, of course, has given up the top 4 position. But so it's certainly running well, but not in the same league as are any of the other GTLM cars that will appear or intricate as those Fords.
No, those Fords definitely showed the pace early on. When we got the wet weather, the 911 definitely then showed the pace. But as it's dried out here the last several hours, the Fords have come back to the front. And I was having a chat with Ryan Briscoe earlier before we even got the rain, and they seem to be pretty happy and said that they're running the pace that they need to run, but they weren't sure, like, you know, if the Corvettes were holding something back right now at this stage of the race.
Yeah, that theory was thrown into the water by, or into the mix, I should say, by Alex Sims at BMW as well. He suggested that certain teams in GTLM weren't necessarily showing all that they got, keeping their powder dry. I just can't really work out why that would be the case. I mean, Ford have gone out as quick as they can, straight out of the blocks, and this is what you get as a reward, a 90-second lead over all the other manufacturers in GTLM. That was a short, sharp stop there for the number 2 car, Andrew Marriott, from 4th position.
Yeah, it certainly was. It's one of what they call the short services, and they just put the fuel in it, which takes about 24, 25 seconds, and off it went. So no driver change, no fresh tyres, and well, the ESM team, of course, have had great success here in the past, won the race a couple of years ago, so let's see how they progress.
Just look at the fastest laps of the class of GTLM. The fastest lap of the race in the class has actually been set by James Calado in the number 62 Risi Competizione Ferrari. That's turned at 1 minute 44.008. The 2 Fords both also turned laps at a 1:44.0, 44.08054 for Ryan Briscoe in car number 67, and 44.086 for Joey Handon, number 66 car. None of the other contenders have been below, what, 44.5 basically. Most of the other cars, the Corvettes and the Porsches, both about 44.5, about a half a second behind those other contenders, and the BMWs just a little bit behind that, 45.2 for the 24 car. The 25 has dropped a little bit further back, hasn't it? It's had that problems earlier on, of course, with that tyre failure. The bet there that time had done it just under 45 flat. So, you know, the 2 Fords and the Ferrari certainly at this stage of the game have the legs on the other contenders in GTLM. But as we've seen before, you know, Daytona isn't necessarily a an accurate predictor of what's going to happen for the rest of the season. Having said that, of course, Corvettes have always gone well in the past. The last couple of years have gone on to win the championship. So, hey.
But, you know, I suppose just because the car is strong at Daytona, it doesn't mean it's going to be consistently strong through the course of the year. You need a certain special setup here, and you trim the car out, yes, for the high banks. That's the majority of the lap, but you've got to be good as well through the tight and twisty stuff of the infield. It's a real... Is it a compromise when you come to set up a car here?
Yeah, it's, you know, you want to trim it out, obviously, for qualifying and certain things, and during the race, like we've seen kind of the Team Penske in the Acura, that they've changed the nose at times to trim their car out. We saw the top speed that they were running, and then they put the higher downforce nose, and they've slowed down almost 3 or 4 miles an hour on the trap speed. So it just depends on what your car needs. If you need a car that you know, needs that top end speed, then you're going to trim it out. You just got to deal with it in the infield. I've always remember when we ran the DPs here that it seemed like Chip Ganassi always trimmed his cars out in the DP days. So maybe they did that with the 4GT also here. Maybe that's why it's shown some pace here, and they're trimmed out. I've talked to those guys in the past when we covered the races last year that car is more of a momentum. You know, you got to roll the center of the corner, keep the apex speed up, and so they've been on their own and be able to run together and use the draft to their advantage and pull this gap and work in the traffic the way they need to together. So that's maybe part of their speed that they're showing right now. But let's get about 3 hours from the end. We'll see what those other GTLM cars are really doing.
Okay, well, there's obviously several ways you can skin a cat, let's say, and the Fords have sent the hairs running, both of them. 0.6 of a second separates the 66 and the 67, and they're leaving nothing to chance right now. The problem is if we get a succession of cautions and the opportunity for some of these cars to catch up again, maybe the fact that the Chevrolets and the Porsches are just easing back very slightly, perhaps there'll be more for those cars to give towards the end of the race.
Yeah, that's maybe there's other teams banking on that there might have been more caution. We've heard some of the interviews from the drivers that they're expecting more cautions at certain times, and they've just had that one caution. And they're coming up on the 15-hour mark, so I mean, it's just unbelievable that we've been green this long.
Yeah, continues to be. Remember, 2,760 miles is the longest we've ever done in this race. That was 36 years ago, 1982, the longest distance we got to, and still on course, well on course for beating that record. We're homing in on another hour completed, by the way. That'll be 9 hours in the book, 15 to go, and another 20 minutes. Saturday becomes Sunday morning. Plenty of people, I'm sure, trying to stay up all night, and then they get to maybe 3 or 4 a.m. the fans down there and wish they maybe got some kip at 11 o'clock. I don't know how long you're doing.
I might subscribe to that theory, actually. But it's Joao Barbosa now at the wheel number 5 car. He took over after a great stint once again for Philippe Albuquerque. It'll be these two that share that number 5 car for the balance of the season, and certainly both doing absolutely what is required of them at the moment. The gap from first to second has come down somewhat. It was 40 seconds before the round of pit stops. Ricky Taylor remains at the wheel of number 7 car, presumably now on a fresh set of Continental tires. There's number 911 Porsche, the big spin at the bus stop.
Big spin, Jeremy. Looks like got the rear wing, got into the tire wall there. He's moving now, but
yeah, he lost the rear wing as well, hasn't he?
This is you might see some guys diving from pit road here.
Fourth place car.
Too, yeah.
Fourth place car GTLM. Then problems for was that Patrick Nick Tandy.
Porsche off on the grass. Sorry,
bus stop. Yeah, we were just talking about lost the rear wing and definitely had contact with the tire wall there. I don't know. We were just seeing a shot of that. He was running with one of the GTLM cars.
With the Corvette was right behind him. I think number 3 car for Garcia. Whoa!
Ooh, big off for the 911 car driven by Nick Tandy, and damage on the rear, damage on the front as well. Did it just step away from him? That might be what we've been talking about, just getting out of the groove there into the bus stop chicane, and there was zero grip, just a little bit wide on the entry. The car switched ends so quickly. Thankfully, Nick caught the tyres rather than the safer barrier, but it's whipped off the rear wing of that Porsche. It's pummeled both sides of the rear bumper, it looks like, and also caught the front as well. So that car immediately going behind the wall to be received by the team, and they can assess quite how much damage has been done to that car. Thank you to Diana Binks as well, who's just taken over from Shea Adam down in the Continental Tire pit lane, who reports that actually the 9-0 car has got a misfire that they are trying to address. Meanwhile, you've managed to find somebody to chat to.
I'm with Mike Conway from the number F1 Run and Engineering car. Mike, you were obviously having a nice seat up there on the pit wall, and I've just managed to drag you down. Are you sort of relatively happy with how your strategy's playing out so far?
Hard to hear you, but
are you? I'm sorry, guys, Mike can't hear me very well. Are you happy with how the strategy's playing out so far?
Yeah, it's been tricky. Obviously, my stint was rain on and off, and then I think the car seems okay, seems quick, but I think our sister car seems very quick most of the time, so I think they have the upper hand right now, but just got to keep hanging in there, keep making no mistakes, and just get through the night and see where we are in the morning, because a few people are dropping out here and there, so just got to keep plugging away.
What's the biggest thing that you're finding that you're having to address?
What's that, sorry?
What's the biggest thing you're finding that you have to address as the night goes on?
Just getting the balance, really, and just fighting away through traffic. Some of the GTs, some of them see you, some don't, and we're just trying to be careful, but we don't lose too much time. So, yeah, it's tricky, but just got to get through it, really.
From where we're sitting, it seems relatively clean, should I say, out there on the track. Not as much going on as we thought.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to be clean, but it's just, we trip over each other sometimes quite easy, especially down by the bus stop where the speed difference is quite big. So you're just trying not to lose too much time in the traffic, risk versus reward, basically. So, and at this stage, you don't want to risk too much, really, for just to try and get one guy and not lose 110. So just be patient.
When are you back in the car?
I'll be back in next. I think from an hour and a half.
Thanks, Mike.
So Mike Conway with Diana Binks there, and as I say, she's reporting, Diana, off-air to me, that the 9-0 car has a misfire that Spirit of Daytona are still trying to chase, but I mean, very, very tricky to work out where that's coming from.
Yeah, that car's still in the garage, so just sort of, losing a lot of time now. 17 laps, it's already lost to the race leader. Joao Barbosa continues to pound around at the front. The gap from first to second stabilised now around about just under half a minute between the first two. Felipe Nasser in the third position is about 40 seconds behind Ricky Taylor, and then Juan Montoya is running pretty much in lockstep with Felipe Nasser, just a second or so behind him. Those are the only four cars on the lead. Lap number 2 car, Ryan Diel, is 1 lap behind in the 5th position, and he's got a pretty good margin now over the number 32 car, which is 6th. It's one of the United Autosports Ligiers, who goes to saddle here at the wheel at the moment.
Declan Brennan's just stuck his head into the IMSA radio commentary box, no stranger, of course, to the Radio Show Limited network of channels, just asking the question about the number 10 car and how many laps it's lost during that fix after the rear right puncture. It's got to be 5 or 6 laps, I would think. It was on the lead lap, of course.
No, it's nearly 10 laps.
Is it really? Okay.
It's going again.
309 laps completed by Joao Barbosa, a race leader, and the 10 car, 2.9, yes it is, more or less 10, possibly 11 laps. Let's hear from Nicolas Lapierre, who's now with Andrew Marriott in the Continental Tire pit lane.
Nico, when I took a break, I was watching all the lap times very carefully. When you were in the car before, you were one of the very quickest guys out there. You were really doing some quick lap times.
Yeah, but to be honest, we don't care so much about this. The problem is we are a few laps down and there is no yellow. I don't know, for whatever reason this year there is no yellow, so we cannot catch back these laps. So it's a shame because the pace of the car is amazing. We have really a good rhythm, but we had 3 puncture in a row, and the last one we lost 3 or 4 laps, and we struggled to get them back. So we just wait and see.
Yeah, there's no yellow, so there's no wave bars. You're not normally you would have made 2 or 3 laps back.
Yeah, with the pace we have, we should make it back if there is some safety car, but for the moment they are not coming, so we have to wait and pray for them to come, you know. I'm sure they will, at one point there will be some safety car and we will be able to catch a few laps, but now we are 4 laps down, so it's quite a lot, but let's see, we're not even half of the race, so still have time to come back.
Absolutely, I was going to just say that. We're not even halfway yet. With a gnarly smile, it's a lovely man, Nico Lapierre.
Yeah, and vastly experienced being a former Toyota driver and also real strong performer in the European Le Mans Series through the course of the last few years too. But maybe another team relying on some more yellows.
Somebody else taking the scenic route.
Yes, I thought for a moment we're going to get treated to an opportunity to describe the Nick Tandy moment to you again. We were wondering whether Nick was about to be lapped by a prototype possibly into the bus stop and therefore had adjusted his line, because he was nowhere near the apex for that first left-hand element of the bus stop, was he? And that threw him out of the groove where there's zero grip, as we've been saying.
Yeah, it certainly looked like somebody else might well have been involved there. Not going to speculate as to who, as that was Frankie Montecalvo taking a grassy excursion through the bus stop in the Scuderia Corsa number 64 Ferrari. 4th place in the class. It's still the Monteplas by Land Motorsport Audi that leads the way with basically a full lap advantage over Ben Keating's Mercedes. Catherine Legg is at the wheel of the 3rd place Acura at the moment. Then Frankie Montecalvo, who was trying to track down, or perhaps even trying to pass Catherine when he ran off the road there. And then Madison Snow rounds out the top 5 for Paul Miller Racing. That's a Lamborghini car number 48, followed by John Potter in the Magnus Audi number 44.
Handful of laps ago, I make it 284. Matt McMurray brought the 90 Spirit of Daytona Cadillac in. We think they're trying to trace a misfire, but Diana Binks has an update for us.
Yes, I've just been into the garage. Obviously, I was out of range, so I couldn't talk to you while I was in there. They are trying to trace that misfire. They're changing the plugs and they've refired it up, but it absolutely doesn't sound good at all. So they've shut the engine down yet again, and the engineers are in the back working furiously. But I think it's going to be some time. It doesn't look like that's going to be an easy fix over there for those guys, unfortunately.
That would be very disappointing for that team. I mean, they've done a fabulous job. They've won. They had a really disheartening beginning to last season running the Multimatic Riley chassis. They switched to a Ligier towards the end of the year, had a win at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. That was a real morale booster for them. And then over the winter they do the deal to run the Cadillac. They've been super fast at the raw test. And again in the early part of this race, but they've had a few niggles, and now they've lost a lot of ground, they're still hemorrhaging time. That's a great shame. It's been a magnificent performance, however, by Troy Fliss's team, and great to see that Spirit of Daytona car running so well. Just wish it would be for a bit longer. In the meantime, it's still Joao Barbosa who leads at number 5 car. The gap from first to second, 27 seconds now, so it's come down just a little bit. Ricky Taylor, Felipe Nasr still a long way further back in 3rd, and Ron Montoya not able to keep pace with Nasr at the moment, just losing a few tenths of a second a lap. He's now 5 seconds behind in the 4th position. Ryan Diel, he is running well in the number 2 Nissan, 1 lap down. Another lap now off the pace is Robin Friends in the number 37 Jackie Chan DCR entry. That is in 7th place, and behind him on the road, having just made a pit stop, actually relinquished the 6th position, is the number 32 United Autosport Audi. That was being driven by Ugo de Sadalier, and now it's Will Owen back at the wheel for his 2nd stint of the race so far.
4 GTs still very much together, although they were separated by tenths of seconds about 5 laps ago. It's eked out to nearly 3 seconds between Joey Hand and Richard Westbrook, 66 and 67. But they are the class of GTLM, at least in terms of the pace that they're running right now. And there is this question mark as to how much the Chevrolets and the Ferraris and the Porsches are actually showing at this stage of the race. Maybe they're holding back for the all-important final 2 or 3 hours, but the Chevrolets don't want to get too far behind. Likewise, James Calada's Ferrari, but it's Tonio Garcia's 3-car that is trying to keep with those Ford GTs. Then the 62 Risi Competizione Ferrari ahead of Tommy Milner's Chevrolet Corvette. Jimmy Bruni in the 912 Porsche, but massive drama for Nick Tandy in the 911 Porsche not too long ago, with the car pitching to the left after Nick approached the bus-stop chicane at a peculiar angle, and the car spinning off the track into the tyre barrier, and not only damaging the rear end, the rear wing, but also further the front that pummeled as well. So Porsche have a job on their hands to straighten all those body panels out. GTD, class leader, up onto page 1 of the timing and scoring now. Jeffrey Schmidt's run in the 29 Audi, that's the Monteplas by Lant Motorsport Audi, doing tremendously well, still leading by 1 minute and 1 second, nearly 2 seconds. So it's not quite a full, or is it a full lap? 290 now completed. No, it's not a lap. It's not a full lap. It has been previously. So 29 versus 33. The Riley Motorsports Mercedes, still with Ben Keating at the wheel. He's done so much driving so far. He could practically have Sunday off, Owen.
Oh yeah, I think he's getting ready to have Sunday off here.
Absolutely right.
I think that's what they were. I think Bill Riley had a plan coming in here, and he's going to get Ben all his time in. Jeremy, I think it's 4 or 5 hours for the silver driver, and Ben's going to finish that time before we go into Sunday morning and leave it up to the rest of the guys on that crew to pull that lap back.
The Scuderia Corsa Ferrari with Frank Montecalvo, the silver graded driver, is in 3rd position in GTD ahead of Catherine Legg's Acura NSX. The 44 car, which has formerly been driven by Andy Lally. John Potter back at the wheel though. I don't think we've seen Marcus Winkelhock at all at the wheel of the 44. Oh, we have, well, at least one stint.
Yeah, I think one stint, yeah. But
okay.
Now it's going to be interesting to see with John Potter now. They've got to do the same thing they were doing with Ben Keating. Now they've got to get John his time in. And
they've been doing that. John's been at the wheel quite a bit of that car, I think.
He has, yeah. And then 4 seconds behind, it's the 48 car with Madison Snow doing the driving, although that car's just come in, the mainly black with a bit of red Lamborghini Huracan.
The number 23 car, by the way, Fernando Alonso back at the wheel of that car. The Ligier of United Autosport currently running in 9th position, 3 laps behind the overall leader, and he had been chased down. That car had been chased down by the number 22 car. That's the one that we heard from Nicolas Lapierre a few minutes ago, sharing a car with Pipo Derani and Johannes van Overbeek. It's the Californian Van Overbeek who's driving that car at the moment, and at this point in time Fernando Alonso is extending that margin. It was down just a second or so about 4 or 5 laps ago, now it's about 7 seconds. So Fernando Alonso, the Formula 1 world champion, is clearly making his presence felt there.
Yeah, got that car up to P9 right now.
Yeah, and it would have been without that very unfortunate tyre problem that occurred when Phil Hansen was driving a couple of hours ago. That car was very much in contention. Still, they're certainly going to need some cautions to get back in the fray, but I would be very surprised if the remaining 14 and a half hours of this race, or 14 hours and 3/4 of this race, there were no more caution periods. That would be quite shocking.
Well, it continues to stay green for the time being, and considering we started this thing at 2:40 this afternoon, we're nearing Saturday becoming Sunday. Many hours of this race now completed, and well into the 10th hour, and only one full course caution. It was the standard length, which required the unravelling of the order of the cars. Remember, they do that whilst the pits are closed, then 2 separate sections of pit stops, the first for the prototypes and the GTLMs, the second for the GTD, who went through all of that, and then the final unravelling and back to racing. And since then, which is a good 7 or 8 hours ago, we have continued to be green. So a very bizarre race in that sense. Bizarre, but unusual, let's say. Nicolas Lapierre, I think, down at ESM, was banking on a few more yellows. They still are, to try and get their cars, certainly the 22, back in contention. Johannes van Overbeek now driving the second of the ESM Nissan-powered Tequila Patrón cars. But Ryan Dial's in the better placed of those, 5th position, behind Juan Pablo Montoya. Still Felipe Nasr and Montoya are close to one another. Nasr, though, charging hard in the second of the Action Express cars, while Bosa and Nasr flying the flag for Action Express. Different sponsors, remember. It's the Mustang sampling car in the lead of the race, I should say, and the 31 of the Whelen Engineering sponsored car in 3rd place. Ryan Taylor, low 139s for him. Similar sort of speed for Felipe Nasr, but João Barbosa continuing really where Philippe Albuquerque left off. The 2 Portuguese, different in ages, I think it's fair to say. João Barbosa certainly has an awful lot of experience around here, and they actually, as a net result, offering very similar lap speed.
Yeah, those guys have definitely, the 5 cars, been the class of the field so far. Well, I mean, we had that little bit of rain shower, but even before that, those guys were up front, and they've continued that trend as we've gotten past that rain shower.
And that is what a race with no cautions, or barely any cautions, is going to give you, isn't it? The most consistent car, the fastest car, out front, and by a decent margin too. It's half a minute at the moment.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, we've been so close there when Castro Neves was in, and we had a really tight battle. Now it's stretched out to 28 seconds now. And now it's kind of maybe, I think those guys, I mean, watching Barbosa's time, he's running quick, but it's just, you know, maybe he's saving a little bit right now. There's no reason to push because he's gotten such a big lead right now.
A little bit of low cloud still up in the dark sky. This is a long night here at Daytona. Remember, official sunset was a couple of minutes till 6 p.m. and it's going to be easily 7 a.m. before we see the sunshine again. But we are nearing the midnight hour now, and the lights are still glaring. This place in its past has been incredibly dark during the night time, but so well floodlit is the area, particularly around the tri-oval, that you could be forgiven for thinking it's still daytime.